Welcome to the second of the series of Empires and Puzzles books interviews. Last week we did our first interview with Happy Waffle, Keon Lee, and that was incredibly well received. So this is something we are going to be continuing. If you like to hear from these top players and their thoughts and feelings about the game, please make sure you subscribe below. And as always, your questions and comments are welcome. You can throw those down under the video. And today I'm happy that I had a chance to sit down and talk with Zero from 7 Days Departed. Let's jump in and hear from Zero. All right, welcome everyone to Empires and Puzzles book's second interview video. And we have, I don't know if it's the famous or the infamous Zero from 7 Days Departed. If you don't,
Only infamous.
probably infamous. If you've played EMP for more than a minute, you've probably seen Zero somewhere at the top of a chart somewhere along the way. He is quite competitive and has been around for a while. So why don't we jump in, Zero, and start right there? How long have you been playing EMP?
Um, hey guys. So how long have I been playing EMP now? Time is it's been 3 years. I think it's been 3 years.
3 years. So you must have got started somewhere later, I guess, in the first year after it was released. What brought you to the game?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. Part of my work involved a lot of travel. Being on planes and everything, I was looking for something to do, like on my phone while on a plane or in hotels or things like that. And I used to game, but I hadn't gamed for a while since like graduating college. Um, Something mobile friendly, something like that. And then I saw this ad in Facebook for Empires and Puzzles, and I was like, oh, this looks like Candy Crush, but like it has an RPG element to it. Like this is interesting. So I tried it, and I don't know if I regret trying it or love trying it, but the rest is history.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I started right before Hell, which was the first ever Hero of the Month, right
right.
before she got released, or when she got released.
Nice.
Mhm.
So at what point did you realize that this was more than just a game?
So good question. So my first couple of I would say my first month or my first like month and a half, I was just like dilly dallying around the game. I wasn't really taking anything seriously. I wasn't spending any money. I was just trying to see get the feel of it and how things were. I hadn't joined an alliance. I was just going through the motions in the game, and like it seemed a little boring to me, so I was pretty sure I was gonna put it down. But then I was like, these titans seem like interesting things, so let's try it out. And I joined my first alliance. And my first alliance was pretty much like a dead alliance. I just like went into searching alliances, looked at the first thing that was open and had open slots, and I joined it. It was a totally dead alliance. Nobody spoke, nobody did anything. Like there were 20 people in the alliance, but only 4 people hit the Titan. I was like,
I've
this
seen
thing
those. Yeah.
sucks. And then like I started going into the chat. I wasn't really even going into the chat so like global or there was like only like 2 chat alliances back then. There was global and there was alliance recruiting. So I stayed away from that initially, but then I went there too into alliance recruiting. I was like, oh, there are a lot of interesting like alliances over here. So I joined. I left my first alliance. I don't even remember the name of it right now. And then I joined Greek Gods, which was my first like proper alliance. And after that, it was done. That I was like totally 100% in the game. So like once you get into an active alliance, so like folks you like, people you have fun with, it's over.
Yeah, I hear that.
So mm-hmm.
Then you were sucked in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Then that was it. I was all in.
so let's ask the chicken or the egg question. Which came first? Your dominance in the challenge events or your inclusion in 7 days?
So I joined 7 days before challenge events were even around. Um, Anchor, who was like one of the elders of 7 days back then, recruited me out of like Alliance recruitment. It's funny because I was on the Alliance recruitment page actually recruiting for Greek Gods. Um, and then he pops up and he's like, you have an interesting defense. And like back then, all 5-star defenses maxed out. That was not a thing. There were zero defenses
Right.
that had maxed out legendary champions. I had zero maxed out legendaries, but I had all legendaries in my defense, and they were all up to 70, which was a big deal back then. That's hilarious to think about right now.
Yeah, seriously,
But
you go from 7 days where it's just a thing to get 5 stars, and now you're at mirror defenses on 30 players.
yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, so he recruited me back then, and like I was like in shock that 7 days was interested in me, because that back then that was the first time Mixed Nuts had just killed the first ever 10-star Titan. That was the first time anybody had killed a 10-star Titan. So that was Mixed Nuts, and 7 days was the second longest to do it. And Vicious had like YouTube videos out and like things. He was like one of the very few content creators for Empires and Puzzles back then. And I used to like watch his stuff, and I loved it, and I loved Vicious, and I loved 7 days. I loved a lot of people there. Like Aryan was like a beast in Empires and Puzzles. Like the two top players, three top players undoubtedly in Empires and Puzzles back then was like Aryan, Apocrypha, and Uplinger. And Aryan was in 7 days. He just joined 7 days, and Apocrypha was about to join 7 days. So like 7 days was about to become huge as an alliance. And then I got recruited, and I was like, how the hell did this just happen?
That's really actually. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, I came in, and then about I think a month later, challenge events came, which is when I became infamous.
All right, you got me a little interested in the 7 days history lesson there. I got a question for you on that before we get into the challenge events. So, have you ever left 7 days at all, like to Merc or anything, or is your original date still on your stat page with how long you've been in there?
Oh no, not at all. I've left a bunch of times. I've taken breaks. I've merked. I actually like retired for a couple of months as well, and then came back after I got like some things that I needed to take care of personally. Got those and got that in order. Came back in a much lesser capacity than I used to be. But yeah, I've left a bunch of times, and we merc every now and then still. Like every time we fill our chest, we merc, and after weekend wars, we merc. So like if I need the resources, I step out now and then.
Yeah, I just about, I guess it's either 9 or 11 wars ago now, I joined 7 Days Ascended, which is the 7 Days family that actually encourages merking. So it's interesting. As soon as we're not in a war and we kill a Titan, like a whole bunch of the members run out to go merc, which is a great way to keep up with resources. But let's jump over to the challenge events. Now, a little interesting piece of trivia about you that maybe not everyone knows. I believe you're probably the only player to take first place in all 3 tiers in the same weekend. Is that accurate?
I think that's still accurate. I know there have been people who've gotten first in like Legendary and Epic, but I don't think anybody's gotten in all 3.
Yeah, you got the trifecta.
Yeah.
So
that was a while ago.
So I've heard that you're credited with coming up with a lot of the gaming theory on how to conquer the challenge events. Do you own that? Does that sound accurate to you?
I wouldn't say I came up with the theory. I would say I sparked the idea, and then there are like so many amazing players playing right now. They just took it to levels that I couldn't even imagine right now. So yeah, I would say I just lit that spark to get other people to go absolutely crazy.
I think you might be being a bit humble. So what do you think it is about your gameplay that makes you so dominant in the challenge events? And I would preface that with there's a number of people that out there that talk about dominance in these events just come from sheer money. Like you have the best heroes and the best troops and the best weapons. And you and I think both know that money cannot buy wins. There's something else So I apologize. I have a motorcycle going by in the background.
Um, yeah,
So
I mean, money plays. Yeah. Um, so I mean, money plays a factor. Like you do need the heroes, and you do need like those resources to farm up everything that you need. But it's not even close to everything. Like for events, I would say the number one thing that you need is grind and like the ability to grind and the willingness to grind and to put the work in and the time into it. Like my process for challenge events to actually come up with my strategy on it took several months to do, and like there were Excel spreadsheets, there were like
of course,
handwritten notes, there were recorded like everything. There was like so much that went into trying to figure out like what is it that this stupid scoring system is looking at, and how can I make that work to my advantage?
yeah,
Um,
I think anybody playing at the
so
top probably has lots of Excel sheets.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, those were tedious, and it took a lot of
Mhm.
time and a lot of work. And I still have some like lingering theories about the challenge events that um, I know can be tested. I just don't have the willingness to do that grind anymore.
Yeah, testing is almost as draining as farming for boards. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're sitting there doing that monotonous, tedious process of farming boards over and over and over and over and over again, how do you
Mm-hmm.
stay on top of your game when you get that great board? How do you switch from the monotony to suddenly you're on and you got to perform at the top to really get that score?
Oh yeah. So the key for me is like you don't spend that much time on it in a row. Like I'm not gonna sit for an hour and a half straight doing nothing but events. Like no, that's not gonna happen. If I do that, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm not gonna be able to do this properly. So what I end up doing is, take like 10, 15 minutes, farm the boards, get a feel of like, am I getting good boards? Am I just getting completely ridiculous boards right now? Nothing's working. Um, and like if things are working, I might push it to like 20 minutes to find something, um, and then move on. If it's not, then I just like put my phone down, um, go do something else, work, spend time with the family, do the more important things, and then I'll come back like a couple hours later and try again. Like you have a lot of time to do these events. Like you don't need to be spending all of your time trying to find boards. You look at the boards. You just need to be patient, and you need to utilize all your resources. Like the point isn't like you go in and like as soon as the event starts, you spend the first 5 hours doing nothing but farming boards and get your score. Like one, that's not going to work, and two, like you're going to spend so much money on like refilling your world energy and everything that like you're going to cry at the end of the weekend.
So let me ask you this, and I know that now I'm talking specifically on the legendary level, that there's
Mm-hmm.
two, like if you look at the teams that people are using at the top, there is
Mm-hmm.
sort of this crowd that uses, and I fall into this category where we're using mostly heroes that are multi-hitters, and then there's the
Mm-hmm.
crowd that are using a Wilbur or a costume gunner with snipers and some
Mm-hmm.
other heavy material that way. Do you find yourself leaning
Mm-hmm.
more towards one of those?
I am more towards the costume gunner and the Wilbur field of things, and I mean both work. The reason why I prefer costume gunner and Wilbur over anything else, actually, in events, is I rely more on tiles than on specials, especially on the later bosses, because they're just so beefy. And like with the right combination, especially like in blue, like if you have Mickey, if you have Gunner, if you have Jot,
Mm-hmm.
your tiles can go insane with
Mm-hmm.
with the damage. So the only problem with tiles is that you can't control where they're going. So in like a two boss end stage or a pre boss end stage, you can have a lot of tiles, but if they're all crashing into like one boss and leaving the other one alive, you're hosed in
Right.
that
And that's why I
way.
need that shared
And
damage.
that's where that sheer damage comes in. It's so clutch for that.
Yeah, I tend to use Sea Gunner or Wilbur on just the last three levels for that shared
Mm-hmm.
damage because everybody else that I've built is for the most part even hitters. I even tried to avoid
Mm-hmm.
I was chasing Master Lepus, but I kind of backed off realizing that he hit strong on one and the light hit on the sides,
Mm-hmm.
which is good for some of the earlier levels when there's only one boss.
Mm-hmm.
But I've really
Yeah.
been focusing on those that hit either everybody or hit the nearbys equally. So along the lines of the challenge events, and I hope you're okay with me asking you to tell this story since you shared it pre-interview. Let's talk about the Ninja Tower and your first experience
Oh
in the
my
tower.
god. Oh, the tower.
I appreciate
Oh,
that you
that
could
was
laugh
such
about
heartbreak.
this now.
Oh no. So I mean, I to be honest, like I wasn't taking the tower really that seriously even back then. Like I've stopped being competitive in events, and I was never really planning on being competitive in the tower. It just happened to be like my boards were good, and like I happened to be getting great scores in the first tower. And like I didn't really know how good I was score wise until like Mr. Payne was also in 7 days. Like he
Mm-hmm.
finished, and I think he finished it with like 1.6 million or something like that. And he was number one for a while. And I was like, I can catch him pretty easily with the way I'm doing my score. And like I can overtake him pretty easily. And then what you call it? I'm forgetting. Mr. Random came in and like overtook Mr. Payne on the last day, and he had like 1625 or 1630, 1.63, something like that, as a final score. And I went into that last day and I was like, I can catch these scores really easily. And I bought the flasks that come in for that last day for the tower
Sure.
flask. I bought those flasks. And I was like, okay, counted them up. I thought I had four flasks and I actually had three. And I went to town on the last 10 levels. And I'd come to like the last like level 48 and 49. And I have like what I thought I still have two flasks left. So I was like, I have like 10 flags and I have three levels to go. And I am like sitting in at like 15.5 million with the points. And it's like, this is easy. I've got this. I'm going to win this tower. Um, so I spend some like so I get a little lenient with my flags, and I spend my what it turned out to be my remaining two flasks in level 40 and 49, and I got up to like almost 16 million as a score, and then I went to the last level and I hit start, and then I got this pop up saying I have no more flags and no flasks, and I wanted to cry.
I was going to ask
So
you. I mean,
basically, I miscounted my flags.
hey, so I appreciate that you're chuckling about this now. At that moment, was that a throw the phone moment, or was that just a laugh in disbelief? Like, what'd you do with that?
Oh, it was a laugh in disbelief. I remember posting in Legendary, and I remember not Legendary. I remember posting in Line in my Alliance chat, and like just like out loud laughing. It was like, this is my score, and I have no flags.
So
And then like
I have to.
people in Alliance were like calling me a dumbass.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
We all have snafus. I just I
Mm-hmm.
recently put an unleveled Elizabeth on my war defense. I made a last minute change, and I went from a 20 emblem Elizabeth to a one that hasn't even been fed any food. But we still won that war, and and surprisingly, I was not one shot every time. So things happen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have to confess, I was all about the Ninja Tower, and I still am when I first heard about the event. So that first event, I
Mm-hmm.
was hawking the scores and writing things down and documenting. And I remember even saying to my wife, I'm like, zero is not played yet. Because I was waiting for your score to pop up, and it didn't pop up. So I remember thinking, like, I remember thinking that maybe you didn't even play the event because there was no way. I just wasn't imagining a scenario where you weren't in the top 100. But
Mm-hmm.
now that we got to chat a little bit, it completely makes sense. I can empathize with how frustrating that's been. But you have certainly come back since then. And
Mhm.
you've been, I think, in the top 100, if not top 50, 25, somewhere in there each event since then.
Yeah, yeah, there and thereabouts. I don't actually remember where I placed. It was somewhere in the top 100 that I go in. I haven't really like done a proper push in the tower. It's just too resource intensive.
So you
Um,
so you're
but
obviously good with those kind of events. What's your feeling on the Mythic Titan?
so Titans is what I love the most about EMP and what I've had the most amount of fun in. Um, Trying to get that big hit on a Titan. So when it first came out, I loved it. I threw everything that I had at it um, to do that. And I think in this last bit of Titan, I think I got like the top of no, the third highest overall score on it as well. But it's fun. I like it. I just hate the amount of resources it takes. And like I just hate having like challenge events and Mythic Titans and Ninja Towers all like lumped into like a couple of weeks in a month. That's just like it's very difficult to keep up with all of
It is. I'm glad the Ninja Tower is at least 2 months out, but having the Mythic Titan
that.
every month is a real crunch on resources. Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me. And I go heavy for the Ninja Tower, so it's resource heavy, especially for those Hunter Lodge weapons, which are
Mm-hmm.
hard to come by. So it's hard to find that balance between alliance support for the Mythic Titan and the solo game with going for it in the Ninja Tower.
Yeah, yeah, it's really tough. So I mean, what we've ended up doing is being like, as an alliance, we just go heavy on it for the first three flags that we have of them is pretty typing, and then everything else is just like, save your resources. Um, and we just try and make top 10 as an alliance, and that's pretty much all we're aiming for, conserving those resources because it's just not worth it to try and get the resources to do all of this.
Yeah, and it's not even, and I don't know that everybody realizes this at times, but the weapons that are needed from the Hunter's Lodge aren't even ones that you can buy with any quantity to them. Like when they pop up
Mm-hmm.
in the daily purchases, it's very few weapons. And even during the events, when you can buy some, it seems like a lot, but compared to how many you need for the event, they get drained pretty quickly. So
Yeah, they won't even last for like half an event.
right. So then the only other resource or the only other source to get those Hunter Lodge weapons is basically trying to accrue enough Titan parts through killing the daily Titans. So do you
Mm-hmm.
mind sharing? Are you at liberty to share? What does 7 Days Departed do as far as the harpoon tiers?
Oh, we're just going to the first tier. We're not going um, any further above that.
Okay.
Because even like with the first tier and those, we're still like doing well with the tower. We're still doing well with the Mythic Titan. And like honestly, to get to the next level of like the Mythic Titan, like getting first or getting top 10 of the tower, the difference in like your winnings is just not worth the amount of effort that they go into achieving that. Because like, and the same with the challenge events. Every additional tier you go through in all of these events is exponentially more resources.
Yep.
So you need so sometimes just going that additional tier is not worth the amount of resources you're going to spend to do that because I did this analysis a while back when I was like thinking about do I really want to keep pushing these challenge events? And it's like if I didn't push for first in challenge events and I just conserve these resources, I wouldn't have to farm at all, and I could finish top 100 in the next 3 or 4 challenge events,
Sure,
which is
sure.
like awesome.
So what do you do with emblems? Are you a 5-star only emblemer or do you throw some on your threes and fours?
I don't have any emblems in my threes. I do have emblems on some of my fours. Who do I have them on? I have them on two regards for wars. I have them on the cat, Cheshire Cat for Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that is it for my fours with emblems.
So you don't emblem Sea Gunner or Wilbur?
Oh no, I do not emblem any hero for epic or rare events.
Interesting,
I
but
have zero emblems on.
you're using either one of those for legendary, correct?
Yeah, I'm using both of them for legendaries. They have no emblems.
Interesting. All right, so what's your vibe?
I
Go ahead.
yeah, I haven't for my emblems. My emblem strategy has been 100% war driven. I have not emblemed anyone for anything else besides war, except for Cat, who I emblem for Titans. But from the get go with emblems, I was like, I am not spending emblems to do anything event related. It's just that's going to take too much away from wars.
So what's your vibe on season 4 and the heroes?
Um, Honestly, season four, I mean, it honestly is pretty much more of the same in terms of like story progression and everything. It's good that they are splitting up these seasons right now. Because back in the day, we were on season one for a long time. I think it took them 2 years to come out with season two, maybe more. Um, so like it was over 2 years of just farming nothing but season one stages, and that was ridiculous. So in that sense, it's a pretty big step up that they're turning out these seasons as fast as they are. I'm pretty surprised by that, and I like it. Um, so the heroes, I think the heroes are interesting. I do like that they're introducing like more what you would call it, more interesting uh, specials per se, as well as like hero attributes, like like Dr. Moreau and like him getting half damage for the first couple of hits, and then the prof with her starting off as like an average mana hero and then switching to a slow mana hero. And those are interesting. I like that. I like those changes in the heroes. I also do appreciate the fact that they haven't made any of the season four heroes apps completely broken, where the meta completely changes and shifts, and like now, in order to compete, you have to have like one of the season four heroes. It's not like that, and that's awesome. Like I don't have prof, and it's not hurting me at all, which is great. And I think prof is probably the best of the season four heroes so far.
All right, so right on that line, what's your feeling about conversations around power creep? Is the game going there, or are they doing a pretty good job of
Oh,
keeping power creep in check?
Oh, it's already there. It's going there. It's already there. I don't participate in beta anymore, but I'm still like in the beta groups. I'm technically still part of beta, so I do get to see like all the heroes as they come out. And every time the hero comes out, I'm like, what the hell are they doing with these heroes? Like seriously, like a fast mana hero that just does defense down on everyone for 3 turns. Like, what are you doing? When Frig came out, I was like, I'm beside myself. Like, what are you? This is just nuts. And like to give you like some context there, like if you look at Frig, um, fast mana, great stats, like pretty beefy. That is not like paper thin like Lethus. And does defense down. That scale is according to the number of tiles that you have in. So her defense down to huge. Uh, it's kind of situational, but really not really. Like you're gonna have a few tiles out there, so you're gonna have a very good AOE defense down champion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go back to like a classic hero, Obakan, when he was being released and when he was out in beta, he came out as a fast mana purple hero that hits 3 and does defense down on all 3, and everybody lost their minds. And he got nerfed. And he got nerfed to like changing that from like defense down on 3 heroes to just riposte on himself, and just became a crap hero basically. Then he was going to be an OP hero and became crap, and that was back then. And this is Frig now, so the power creep is there. It's just and it's pretty ridiculous on how much it's just like slowly going and going and going.
Yeah, I like the psychological factor of Frigg and Odin, and even some of the like Jat and Ratatoskr, where you got to consider the tiles on the board in a different way.
Hmm.
So I do like that they're doing that, and I'm enjoying these new type of heroes like Lepiota, if I'm saying that right, where you're hiding somebody, you can
Yeah.
ghost the enemy. So they're
Hmm.
they're getting creative with some of the specials. I prefer that more than just hammering them harder and harder. Do you use any
Oh
season?
yeah.
Do you use any season one 5 stars anymore?
Do I use any season? I'm assuming you're talking about non-costume.
What's that? Well, with or without costumes, either way.
Well, with costumes, yeah, for sure. I'm using Mariana with costume for obvious reasons. I'm also using costume Catalan. Um, costume Catalan is awesome, so I am using her quite a bit. What other classic heroes do I use? Do I use any of those? I have to look. Um, no, I don't think I used any other season one heroes.
Costume Catalan evades me, and
Oh,
it's
Aslar.
frustrating because I maxed Catalan early on and I never use her. Like I kind of almost regretted leveling her as soon as I did it. And the only thing that will save me from permanently regretting that is that costume, and it just does not happen.
Oh, that costume is amazing. But yeah,
Mm.
the other season one hero is Adlar, who I use. Both
Aslar with or
non-costume
without the
heroes. Yeah.
costume.
Both.
So what's your feeling on small giants handling of nerfing and buffing?
Ah, I mean, I do get that nerfing is needed. I first for buffing, I think they need to do a lot more. Like they barely ever buff a hero, and there's just so many crap heroes out there that people will spend resources on that aren't serious need like a buff, and they need to do like a better job of that, and they need to have like a they need to have like an internal project where they go in and buff these heroes that need to be buffed. For nerfing, um, I understand that it's necessary, it's needed for the health of the game. I just don't like their inconsistency. Like they nerf and then they come back around in the next beta cycle and they release heroes that are even more insane than what they just nerfed. So
Right.
it's like, what the hell are you doing? Do you never learn? Um, so like, I mean, it's a repetitive process for them. It goes back like when Athena first came out, she was absolutely insane. She instead of like having 6% reduction every hit, it was 10%. She stacked with other defense downs, and like she made Titans like a glass wall. Like there were 300k hits back then
Right.
with Athena, and she wasn't maxed. Like this was back when you couldn't really max these 5 stars. So a 370 Athena was doing like 200k hits, or two, like it was ridiculous. They did that with Athena, and she got nerfed twice. And then the second time around, they nerfed her was so hard that they had to buff her again um, until they reached what they have right now. Guinevere was another one. Guinevere, when she was released, like I remember Beta being up for all of us being up for being like, this hero will break the game, and like she did. She was like the top tank for a year, for over a year. Nothing else even came close to her. But even her, like they had to nerf her like 2 or 3 times before she became like manageable. Um, and then Telluria, exactly the same thing. Where it's like I don't understand how they thought releasing her as she was a good idea. Um, I do think they over nerfed her, and I do not agree with their nerf on Vela at all. I mean, synergy is not a reason for nerfing. Um, in my mind, because I mean, Villa's just done. Like she's just nowhere now in
I
terms of
think the
effect.
first nerf on Vila
Uh,
wasn't bad. It was the second and third one, I think, that really knocked her down to not being very valuable.
mm-hmm.
Like the only
Yeah, I
benefit,
mean, I
sorry,
just didn't see it. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the only
Sorry, you were
benefit
saying.
to the extra nerfing of Vila is she doesn't suicide on Mitsuku now. It's like they nerfed her
Yeah,
so bad that she's not power enough. You're not power enough to
yeah,
take herself out with Mitsuko's reflect. So
Yeah, and that's and like and their sneaky nerf on Friggin' Odin just had me upset as well. And then that is just like um, there are a couple of different things to look at there. One, it's sneaky. They're not being what you call it transparent about like what they're doing, why they're doing it. They just like willingly decided and did it without completely going over their beta program. And two, I don't understand like what calculations they did to do this nerf. Like this was a nothing nerf on both Freedom and Odin. It did nothing. Um, so why? Like that nerf was like so minuscule
mhm.
that it wasn't worth doing. So why just antagonize people? Like they literally just antagonize people with this nerf. Um, it's just silly. Like I don't understand some of their decisions that they make with these
Yeah, it would be nice to be
heroes.
a fly on the wall to hear some of the decision making going on in the small giant studios at times. So you said Titans are your thing. Well, can you share with us
Mm-hmm.
the makeup of your favorite Titan team? I'm guessing it's the ice against fire.
Oh, Ice Against Fire is fun. So yeah, that's the one. Like, if I really want to go all out, then that's the one that I use.
So who's on that team?
And right now, that team is Frida and Frida, Athena. Let me see. I actually have to pull it up because it's changed a few times. Mm, yeah, Frida, Athena, Cobalt, Jot, and Nikki.
Okay, yeah, that's mine too. Except for I have a regular Magni maxed attack with costume bonus instead of Cobalt.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
you know what?
no, that's a good option too. It's just like my Cobalt has a 938 attack, which is the highest attack I have of any blue.
Uh, I
So
think my I think
that's
my
good one.
Magni is 940.
Do you have an emblem? You
I
probably
have
have.
a maxed emblem for attack with the costume
That
bonus.
makes sense.
Yeah, I
Oh
think
yeah,
he's a,
that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, it's like the only thing that I really use Magni for. Sometimes I'll throw him in on, a war team or something, but for the most part, he's just there for the huge attack number on Titans. All
Hmm.
right, so let's end this with what is your most proud accomplishment in the game, or top two or three things that you were most excited about that define your experience in the game.
I wouldn't call it proud accomplishments. I would call it like the things that I had the most fun with, or the things that had the biggest impact. Um, so like the number one thing for me is like the wars, especially the close wars that we've had over the years. And some of the closest wars that I like just like jumping out at me, we had a bunch of them with Crystal Palace back when they were absolutely monstrous as an alliance. Um, and there are a couple of videos out there where it's counting down. The last 30 seconds are counting down, and there's three of us attacking them, three of them attacking us, and there's like 5 points of the difference between us, and it's just absolutely nerve wracking. And your heart's going crazy, your mind's going crazy. You can't watch, but you can't help but watch, and like and you're wondering what the hell is taking so long to do these stupid hits. And it's like the war is over. It's 2 minutes past, 3 minutes past, 4 minutes past, and then finally you start getting like people finishing their hits, and you see like fails and or wins, and like that high of like
Sure.
you just won this war is just that's just like the best feeling I've had in this game, bar none. Like that was probably the best moment I've ever had in this game with Crystal Palace. Um, and then similarly with like aggressive, we've had a bunch of like ridiculously close wars. And then I'm going to butcher their name, Code for like Kobyr,
Mm-hmm.
um, another Russian like Ukrainian alliance. We actually tied them, and that was absolutely nuts. And that was a very similar, like 2 or 3 minutes past the end of the war, and both of us failed our hits, and our points just like we tied. I was like,
Wow.
what the hell is this?
Wow. The
So, but yeah.
The elusive Thai
The
war.
wars just take the cake. Hmm. Yep, the
So
wars just like take the cake for me.
I lied about the last question. You inspired another question. So do you have a nemesis in the game? Somebody that you always look to attack or always want to beat when you see him on the field?
Um, I generally, so that it's just my nature. It's the way I've worked or the way I've loved playing this game from the beginning. I just go after the best defense, the best player, the best person that there is on the team every single time. Like when I'm playing Avengers, I try to hit like their top players every time, whether it's UCLA, whether it's like AWOC or like, well, they have a bunch of amazing players, so it's not at all difficult to find like somebody to hit for them. So like, I mean, I go after the whoever's the best defense out there, and like I know I drive like my lance leader, and like my lane's crazy for it because my war record is not that great. I mean, I barely ever go 6 for 6. I'm usually averaging like 4 1 shots, and that's usually because I'm just going after the craziest defenses with all 6 of my flags. Um, and I drive people crazy doing that.
So what's your attack strategy in war? Are you a 3-2-4-1 mono rainbow?
3-2 all the way right now. And it's funny, like, I mean, if you go on my YouTube channel and watch some of my older war videos, like I was like a 2-2-1. And like I've done like a 1-3-1 back in the day as well. Right now I'm like fully into 3-2. I've dabbled into 4-1 configurations a couple of times here and there. I just don't find them consistent enough, or I don't find the advantage of having like that one off-color hero to be enough to warrant it. And I just don't like mono because I think that's just too much of a conflict in wars. So 3-2 I think is like a sweet spot that I like to go for.
All right, so this time I swear it'll be the last question. We're going to do this for the viewers out there that might not be on the level that you are. So speaking to the player out there who's like a level 60, level 70, level maybe even 80 that has a decent amount of 5 stars max, what's your advice for them? What should they be working on? What should they be focusing on?
Honestly, I mean, so if you're level 60 or level 70, then I mean, you're still grinding your way through the game. And I would say, like, my number one advice to people is always like, work on the resources that, that are easy to get. Like, max out your tower, max out your base, get all your farms all the way up there, get your hero academy going, get all your things that will get you resources maxed all the way, because that's just going to make life a lot easier for you. And then concentrate on your Titan teams, as no matter what, that's always where you're going to get the most ascension mats from, is Titans. And then after that, once you have like your Titan teams and you're going into like B grades, A grades, up your Titan tiers, and don't buy into the crap that people put in that C loot is better than A loot. No, that's not a thing. It just drives me up the wall when people say that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, go for like the A loot, or even the B loot is okay. So that's what people should be concentrating on. Don't worry about your raid defense. Don't worry about events. Don't worry about like the Ninja Towers or the Mythic Titans as much yet. That comes later on, because those are activities more for like your end game players, mm-hmm. who are done, who have maxed out bases, who have like full max emblem heroes, and like who finished the storyline for everything, and like they're just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. These events are there for those end game players to go completely crazy on. So I would say not to worry on that too much. Once you hit like level 80, level or beyond, then I would say it's time to switch and think into like, what can you do to make sure you don't burn out, and stay like engaged in the game. Then it's like time to concentrate on the things that you like about the game, the things that make you happy. So you don't have to be caught up in the stupid like gotcha schemes of like this XYZ hero and you didn't get it and you're now depressed. Like you don't want to get caught up in all of that. Just concentrate on things that make you happy. Like, I mean, if you like Titans, just go all out on Titans. If you like Wars, go all out on Wars. And like work on that strategy. And then try and work on like, longevity. At that point, I mean, I've gone crazy with this game. Like I had alarms. I used to be up at all times, making sure every single flag is used. Everything is being accounted for. I am nowhere close to that. Like there are days where I haven't filled a single chest right now. So whatever you need to do to make sure you're not burning out. Because I mean, when you burn out, then like that means it's time to take a break. Which I mean, that's also okay, but it's if you're like grinding and going hard for like the first 70, 80 levels, it's difficult to like get out of that mode and take a step back. But it's important to do it.
Excellent. All great advice. I really want to thank you from my end as Jekyll and Hyde Empires and Puzzle Books, but also thank you on behalf of the community for sharing your story and some of your strategies and insights. This was a real pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, Zero.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Jekyland.
I meant to do this with last week's interview and I forgot. I'm going to end the clip with a battle between Zero and I. So I attacked him and then we will have his revenge raid. So we'll at least get some fighting involved in these videos. Let me know if this is a good addition at the end of the video and I will keep trying to include these when I can. Thank you.